What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Johnny. Back here, one more reaction video, ladies and gentlemen. And today we got Mr. Eric Butterworth coming to the channel. If you don't know who this gentleman is, I definitely think you should check him out a little bit. I would say my favorite book that he has written is Spiritual Economics. If this is your first time over here, welcome. As I like to say, we are just spirits encased in human flesh. Just trying to figure out this thing called life. Not nearly as divided as the mainstream media makes it seem every day. So if you dig what you hear in this video, share it far and wide. Let's listen to the art of thinking.
The study of metaphysics gives us a new sense of perspective by which to deal with the world. In a very real sense, it introduces us to a new dimension of reality. Fact is that when we get into the study of metaphysics, humanly there's a tendency to get on our charger like Don Quixote and go out and try to change the world. But one of the fundamentals that so often is overlooked is that metaphysics does not deal with changing the world. The whole principle is based upon ourselves. It is not the world that we're concerned about, but our thought about the world. The important key to effective living, then, is not trying to find the way to set things right and to straighten people out and to get the world to stop acting like it does. Not to set things right, but to see them rightly. Right seeing is the fundamental essence of truth. Metaphysics is a technique in right seeing, helping you to see things from a particular perspective, as Emerson would say, from the highest possible point of view. And all this is wrapped up in what we're calling today the art of thinking. It seems to me that the greatest neglect in education today, and it's not my intent to nitpick about the educators, because certainly people here in this profession are doing a tremendous work, helping people in a tremendous way. But I think there has been a neglect that has set into modern education. It's very subtle. Unless we think we're pointing at one particular movement, we'll say that the same problem is found in the study of metaphysics, another kind of education. It's a failure in the instruction in the art of thinking. In other words, the whole thought process is so often simply taken for granted. We're thinking creatures, and so we think. And we're told what to think. And we're exposed to all sorts of levels of learning, and we're supposed to think.
I would agree 100%. School tells you what to think, not how to think. It removes your creativity from you 100%. You know, everyone is meant to have the same answers, K through 12. And then college. And we all are individuals. I came out of my mom as one. You came out of your mom as one. And the only thing we have in common is a connection to the Creator. But the thoughts I have are 100% different than the thoughts you'll have. So it's up to us to be individuals. And there's a reason why this society wants to conform us and to all be sheep. You know, one of the things that I like to say is everyone thinks, but no one thinks. Because there was actually a point in my life where I truly believed that my skin color had something to do with how successful I could be. That my skin color had something to do with how my life would go. And through studying metaphysics, I understand that my brain doesn't know what color my skin is. But you become what you think about. So are you thinking about wealth, health, and abundance? Or you think about whatever goes on in your nightly news and your social media news feed? You control your thinking, you learn to control your life.
Think about them and to memorize them and to report them back much as we've heard them. It is rare in education that we're introduced to the process of how to think. The mind is dealt with, for the most part, as a fact collector and a word dispenser. And this is so true in the study of metaphysics. That we're told that we're thinking creatures, we're mental beings, and therefore the important thing is you must think this, you must think that, you must think the other. So we're constantly building in and programming our mind with affirmations and techniques and treatments and so forth, and learning to verbally repeat them and picture them in the words that we express. Thought for the average person is a reflex process. In other words, things happen and we react in thought. We become worried, we become fearful, we become concerned and anxious, or on the other hand, we become happy and inspired. And we assume, and this assumption is almost universally prevalent among people, we assume that the thoughts that we think are produced by the circumstances that we experience. And that mind is something that we hold within our skull by which we can deal with the world out there. Things happen and we react, we think, and we say, well, of course I'm upset. You'd be upset too if you had the same experiences. Life is a continuous reaction to outside stimuli to the average person. So one may be happy or sad, or life has meaning or is meaningless by evidence of what happens to us from day to day.
And think about that for a moment. Do you really want to be controlled by everything externally that happens? Or do you want to have supreme control over yourself? It's that simple when you break it down. It's like, do I really want to get upset because this car cut me off? Once you can realize that you could just slow down and not take things personal, life becomes such a breeze. And you open up this cloud of happiness and positivity and joy that you just want to share with the world.
We may even sometimes check the weather, or consult the stock market returns, or even go to a doctor to see how we feel. Ask the average person, how do you feel today? I don't know. I have to wait till I get down to the office to see what kind of a mood the boss is in. Then I'll know how I feel.
Wake up in a state of gratitude.
But experiences do not cause thoughts. Emphasize, experiences do not cause thoughts. Someone may do something to you, and he may give you a perfect opportunity to be upset if you want to be upset.
You decide.
But if you don't want to be upset, you needn't be upset, you see. The incident happens. There's no use denying it. It's not saying that he didn't say it, or it didn't happen, or they're not doing these things in the world out there.
Right.
They've happened, and it becomes history once it's happened.
It's not that the world isn't nasty or mean or ugly, or that people can be rude or disrespectful, but it's like, okay, and what? Do you allow that to affect you and your happiness? Or do you just let them deal with themselves and you stay centered in with who you are?
But as far as your experience is concerned, the incident is completely external. It's always on the outside. What happens in your mind happens as a result of your attitudes and your feelings and your habit patterns. Your mind is your domain. Now, this is fundamental, and these words are easy to express, but it's so important to get this into our...
Even in a room full of 1 million people, you are still only with yourself. And you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody else. So make sure that conversation is nice. Do you laugh with yourself? Do you joke with yourself? Because I do.
Consciousness. You think what you want to think, or you think what you have habitually thought by a certain tendency of habit patterns. Your thoughts are your reactions to the incident, always. The incident did not make the thought. It is your mind, and you have been thinking and reacting in thought according to the level of your consciousness. I was talking to a young chap in a hotel one day. He was one of the hotel clerks. There was a lot of people coming in for a convention, and they were harassed, and people were there early, and other people were staying late, and the usual thing that happens in hotels. And one of them was saying, boy, I sure have problems tonight. And one could feel sorry for him. But I talked to one of the other clerks a little later, and he had an entirely different thought. He said, people sure have problems tonight. Both of them dealing with the same experience, one of them dealing with what I call horizontal thought, the other dealing with vertical thought. I have problems, people have problems. But I have problems because of the way I'm reacting to people problems. But if I keep myself in perfect peace, then I'm simply concerned that people have problems, but they're on the outside. Then I can handle them. Then I can deal with them. When was the last time you said, he makes me so mad? Or that just tees me off? And of course, this is not correct at all. No one ever makes you mad. No one ever gets you upset.
Don't ever give anybody else the keys to your car.
As I say often, you are upset because you're upsettable. You're angry because you have a anger consciousness that is touched like a little red button that causes it to blow up within yourself.
I'm going to start saying that to people when they get mad. Like, why do you have an anger consciousness?
But the anger is already within, you see. So you react in thinking to the level, according to the level of your attitudes, according to your consciousness. So the thing that happens then is we allow our mental mastery to go by default. Some of us are completely unaware of the fact that we have the power to control the kind of thoughts that run rampant in our minds. That's the thing that's fundamental in this study of truth, to realize that it is your mind. Therefore, you have to ask yourself the question from time to time. When you find yourself terribly upset or concerned or anxious or worried about something that's happened, take a good look in yourself and ask yourself this one question. Not why do they do this? Why is the world falling apart? Why do we have so many problems in life? But why do I allow people or experiences or things to determine how I'm going to think or feel or act?
Man, why I got so much control over me?
This I can do something about. In the same way we tend to succumb to race beliefs, to group psychology, to subliminal suggestion.
Tell 'em.
We're susceptible to the programming of mass media that is designed especially to control and influence thought, simply because we've allowed ourselves to react. This is why mass media is so successful. Because of this pattern of reactive thinking, we are led into a life that is not really our own at all.
A question I want to ask everybody right now is, why do you think about what you think about? Where do those ideas come from? Where do those thoughts come from?
We don't live our lives. We live lives that are conditioned by outside stimuli. But that's because we refuse to accept the responsibility for our own thoughts. So the very first step in this process that we're calling the art of thinking is to know that no matter what happens in your world, no matter what happens out there, no matter what you read in the papers, no matter what is taking place around you or to you, you always have a choice.
Always.
You always have a choice. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be unhappy. You don't have to be worried. You don't have to be fearful. You can choose to think positively or creatively if that's the way you want. You can become the master instead of the slave. Oh, it's not easy. Now, let's not kid ourselves. It's not easy to take possession of our mind. To change from being a reflex thinker to a creative thinker, it takes a lot of discipline and will and commitment because we've been thinking in the other way so long.
But understand that self-discipline is freedom. And you can discipline yourself or you can continue to be a slave to the world.
But we can do so. It's not easy to think happiness when you're unhappy, because your unhappiness is busy manufacturing more unhappy thoughts.
Yep.
Tagore comments on this. He says, the slave is busy making whips for his master. So we're busy manufacturing negative thoughts to fulfill the negative state of consciousness, and it goes round and round. It's a vicious cycle.
I have to write that down.
So in a very real sense, it could be said, if someone asks you what your occupation is, if you want to be realistic about it, you could say, I'm a manufacturer. Because I'm always manufacturing the kind of things that happen in my life according to my consciousness. You see, we do this unthinkingly.
I'm a manufacturer.
It's like the little woman who, this is the classic story of the woman who was sitting commiserating over a lot of her problems, and she had a lot of problems. She was talking about them, almost counting them one by one like rosary beads. One of her friends trying to console her said, oh, come on now, things are not that bad. After all, you should try to be positive. And she said, classically, I don't see it that way. It seems to me when the Lord sends me tribulations, it's my duty to tribulate. Some people seem to feel that you should be unhappy, that you should be negative. If you walk into an office someday smiling and singing and whistling, people say, what do you have to be so happy about?
You know that feeling when you go to work in the morning, you in a good mood, everybody looking like, what's wrong with you? Like, I can't just be happy. But I will say that's one of the things that I definitely see we got to change in the world. We're too comfortable talking about our grievances, our wrongs, our disappointments. Let's talk about our joys, our happiest moments, our blessings, what we're thankful for. Let's start in the comments just to spam all of our blessings, all the things we're grateful for, all the things that make our life what it is. Because if we can disconnect from the negative energy and associate with the positive energy, and you become what you think about, then you'll have just a domino effect of positive energy flooding into your life. And then you can give that positive energy to people around you. And look what we've created, man.
But as I say so often, you don't have to have anything to be happy about ever. You can be happy simply because you want to be happy.
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln once said, a man is about as happy as he makes up his mind to be. This is the key to the positive life. This is the key to positive thinking.
And that's why you can't be affected by the media. Because your thoughts are your thoughts. So I challenge you, no matter what's going on in the world, be happy.
It's not filling your mind with a lot of happy platitudes, but it's simply determining that you have control and you can think the kind of thoughts that you want to think, and making the commitment at the beginning of the day and regularly through the day that you're not going to allow people or conditions or circumstances to decide how you're going to think or feel. Just watch the average person read the newspaper. Watch him on a subway sometime.
Scroll their cell phone. We don't have newspapers no more in this society.
Sometimes we wonder what are you going to do to preoccupy your
TikTok,
thoughts on those
IG.
long subway rides. Be analytical. Watch somebody reading the paper. You read a few of the lines, you go, oh, terrible. And there are a lot of things to tut about, actually, because the newspapers like the New York Post have really made tremendous hay on the process that people like to tut. So the point is, that person is simply shoring up in consciousness the fact that he fully believes that it's a terrible world, that everything's going to pot, and so he reads all the things that says, see, I told you. And he's upset because he's upsettable. He's upsettable before he reads the paper. Now, if he wants to make any changes...
And that's the thing that no one ever stops to point out about the world, is everything keeps you in a state of fear. Fear is nothing but false evidence appearing real.
Now, if he wants to make any changes, either changes in the world or changes in himself, he has to begin to ask himself some serious questions. Why do I allow the New York Post or the New York Times or the Daily News? Let's cover all the waterfront so he won't be partial.
CNN, Fox,
Why do we allow these things, these outside
Twitter,
stimuli,
Instagram,
to determine how I'm going to think? Why do we allow listening to the radio or the television to get me upset? Do I want to be upset? But you got to be realistic, a person will say. After all, things are in the world, and what are you going to do about them? Fact is, you always have a choice. You always have a choice. You can say, as the hotel clerks did, one of them said, I have terrible problems, and the other one says, people have terrible problems. In the one case, the person is totally destroyed by the problems of people. In the other case, the person is there ready to help if he needs to help, but he keeps himself oblivious from it. He's objective, and thus he can serve without being destroyed within himself. And this is a very important realization.
Be in the world,
and I say this
world.
to a person who wants to be a good, positive truth student. Don't stop reading the paper, certainly. Don't stop listening to the news, unless you find that you do not have as yet the developed capacity to keep the news on the outside. If you don't, then you better not read the news for a while until you keep yourself in perfect peace and develop the capacity to control your own thoughts.
Make you go crazy.
Then you can read the news and listen to the news and see what's going on in the world, saying that the world has problems today. But not I have problems. The world has problems. Then suddenly you're in a state of consciousness where you can be a creative asset to the world, but at least you're not going to be destroyed by it.
Did I catch that? Hey, I like this video a lot, man. This is one, like I said, I'm down with these nerdy type videos, bro. This is what I do. Be in the world, not of the world. And if hurt people can hurt people, then healed people can heal people. And I believe through videos like this, we all just humans trying to figure out life. And the highest currency is knowledge. Because if you got $1 and I got $1 and we swap it, we each got $1. But if you got an idea and I got an idea, and we swap that, we can tie them together. We can manifest that into something else, and we keep evolving. And I really believe that we can evolve the human race through spreading ideas. No man is your friend, no man is your enemy, but every man is your teacher if you're willing to listen and learn something. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, share it far and wide. Be the change you wish to see in the world, and do not let the outside affect the inside. We out. Peace.